For today, I can derive the quadratic formula by completing the squares. Read together, 1, 2, 3. I can derive the quadratic formula by completing the square. So the word derive, some of you were asking me, what does that mean, Mr. Q? Derive means to extract or to get from. So for example, you know how sometimes you hear poetry when somebody reads it, or you read some poetry. Has anybody read some poetry before? But sometimes it has a different meaning. So when you extract or abstract from it the meaning of it, that's what we call, you derive the main idea. You get from that something important. So derive means abstract or extract or to get from. So today we're going to get what? The quadratic formula. Yesterday we covered that, right? Everybody by now knows the quadratic formula, yes? On 3, 1, 2, 3, x equals minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, and do we know the process of completing the square? Yes, we did that already for a couple of weeks already, and today we just saw the process again on the warm-up, okay? So to get us started, we don't need a Ferrier model. At the top of your paper, if you want to turn the paper over, use the back side since it's going to be lengthy. And I want you to write deriving the quadratic formula. Right, deriving the quadratic formula. Copy that, and then I'll get started. Deriving the quadratic formula. So I'm going to go over the entire process, writing utensils down. Don't worry about picking up the pencil or the pen to copy stuff down. At the end, you'll copy the whole thing. It's very lengthy, so I need you guys to focus. The reason I need you guys to focus is because each step has a lot of stuff. You will understand it if you follow along. Okay? Here he goes. Deriving the quadratic formula. Deriving means we abstract the formula from somewhere. Where do we abstract it from? We're going to get it from the standard form of a quadratic equation. What does that look like? Ax squared plus bx plus c equal to y. Does that look familiar? Yes. That's what we call step 1, standard form. And remember, we're using completing the square, yes? And before we start with anything, what is the first thing we need to do to make sure that y is equal to what? 0. So we get ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. All right. Step 2, divide by what? Leading coefficient, which is now what? A. So I'm going to divide everything by a. A divided by a is 1, so I'm left with x squared plus b divided by a is b over ax plus c divided by a is c over a. 0 divided by a is 0. So far, so good? Okay. Step 3, eliminate constant. What's my constant now? C over a. So I subtract c over a, subtract c over a to each side. I'm left with x squared plus b over ax. I'm going to leave a space equal. Now here I'm going to leave a space here, and I'm going to write this one a little bit further this way, so minus 6 over a. Are we there so far? So far so good, right? Without numbers, but we're okay with the process. Is everybody following the process for completing the square? Okay. Here's where it gets interesting, so focus. Step 4, we're going to add b over 2 squared. What does over 2 mean? What operation? Division. Okay, so let me zoom in. What is b now? B over a. So this is a little confusing, so you need to wrap your brain around it. Here it goes. We would usually write b, or whatever that number was, over 2. But can we have a fraction over another fraction? No, so I'm going to write it like this. B over a divided by 2. Does that make a little bit more sense? Yes, squared. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Now I'm going to simplify this before we move on to the next step. So this becomes b over a times what? Times 1/2. Does everybody see it? Because it's dividing by 2. So what is the, does everybody see it? Okay, if you don't see it, it's like this. 2/5 divided by 2. Keep, change, flip. Does that look familiar? But now we're doing it with just variables. Okay, so we got this. And at the beginning of the school year, we talked about why we do the reciprocal. Remember I gave you guys a formula? Yes? You're like, yes, Mr. Q, we love it. All right, good. So what is b times 1? B. What is a times 2? 2a, and all that squared. And of course, it's the same over here. b over a times 1/2 squared, b over 2a squared. Okay, I'm almost done. So I'm going to square all this because this is squared, right? So what do I get? b to the second over, what is 2a squared? 4a squared. That is correct. b squared over 4a squared. Okay. Now I'm going to bring everything else down. This just the reason I just wanted to focus on that so you can see how it simplifies. Okay, so x squared plus b over ax, x squared plus b over ax, x squared plus b over ax. Bring the equal sign down. Okay, bring this one down. Minus c over a minus c over a. So far so good? All right, so you're like, I guess, Mr. Q. So let me go back to the warm-up and see where we're at using numbers for those that are a little bit out of our comfort zone. So let's see. Did we do standard form and then changing y to 0? Did we divide by the leading coefficient? Did we eliminate the constant? Yes. Did we square, did we add b over 2 squared? Yes, but what did I do here? I simplified this side, right, before I moved on. So this became this. So this is where I'm at. I'm going to do this over there, okay? Here it goes. So I'm going to focus on this side. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so can I simplify these two fractions? Yes, we need a common denominator, don't we? So what can I do to this side? Times 4a times 4a. All right, so this becomes b squared over 4a squared minus, what is 4a times c? 4ac over, what is 4a times a? 4a squared. Now can I combine these two? Yeah, so I'm going to simplify it and bring it down here. So the common denominator is 4a squared. And then this, can I combine anything? No, but I can write it as b squared minus 4ac. Are we there so far? Okay, let me zoom out. Okay, so I simplified this side, so that means I'm going to bring all this down. So I bring x squared plus b over ax plus b squared over 4a squared, and all that equal to that. Whew. So far, so good? In regards to process, show me with your fingers how comfortable you are with the process, even though we're not using numbers. I'm talking about the process of completing the square. We got some 3s, some 5s, 5, 5, 5s, 4s, a couple 2s, but 3s, 4s, okay. All right, So the process of completing the square by now, you should have plenty of practice. If you need extra practice, where do you go? Or the YouTube channel. Please, pretty please. All right, here we go. And yeah, that's why I've been staying for tutoring, yeah? All right, so that was step 4. Let's go to step 5. Step 5, we're going to what? Factor, okay. Which means this is a perfect square, so we use a shortcut, right? Square root of the first. X, square root of the last. B over 2a. What is square root of 4? What is square root of a squared? A, sine of the middle term, and all that to the second power. Bring everything else down. B squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Okay, so we're done with factoring. Now we're going to the last step. Remember the last step? Step number 6. What is the first thing we do? Square root, and then we solve for x. Remember that? All right, so let's take the square root. This is where we're at. So square root of this. Focus, please. Square root of this. All right, this cancels this. I'm left with x plus b over 2a equals. What is square root of 4? 2. What is square root of a squared? A. Question. Can I take the square root of a negative number? No. That means I can't take the square root of the numerator. So therefore I need to write, since I took the square root here, I need to write plus minus, right? And then square root, what's left inside? B squared minus 4ac. All right, now let me solve for x. What do? Minus b, whoa, sorry. Whoa. Yes, thank you, Nate. Bam, Nate. Minus b over 2a minus b over 2a. That leaves me with x equals, one fraction is minus b over 2a. The other fraction is plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. However, now we have two fractions. Can I combine both fractions? What would be my common denominator? 2a. So therefore, my new equation is x equals minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Students, welcome to the quadratic formula. You're like, what just? Yes, good. For the quarter. Woo, let's go. Yes. We wouldn't write two equations because we know that this gives me two equations. But if we were to write two equations, Kelsey, what would be my first equation? X sub 1 is what? Minus b plus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And x sub 2 is minus b minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Yes? Piece of cake? Let's look at this beauty.
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? Copy this down, please. Yay.
These questions are on the
Only one. Oh, you want more?
No.
Copy that, please. I'll scroll down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to scroll up. Ready? Here it goes. Yeah, don't get lost. Copy that, and then I'll scroll up a little bit more. All right, I'm going to scroll up. What is it, what? Right here? Right here? Here? It says b squared over 4a squared minus, and then we have 4a and 4a multiplying c over a. Yeah, because we need to multiply 4a to get 4a squared, don't we? 4a. Okay, what is the denominator here? What is the denominator here? 4a squared. So what do we need to multiply the a to get 4a squared? 4a. Yeah. Be nice. All right. I'm going to scroll up. Right there. Okay. And pause it, and then I'll continue once you're done. Okay, I'm going to scroll up. Everybody ready? Okay, I'll pause it for a little bit. Copy that, and then I'll scroll it up a little. All right, let me scroll up. Right there. And that's the last part. Copy that. So let's see this whole beautiful process. Let me zoom out. Look at that. So this is how you're going to study tonight. Let me show you the process. Everybody ready? Here goes the process. Okay? So tonight, you're going to get a blank sheet of paper out, and you're going to get this process that you have and put it next to it. Okay? And then you're going to start. Okay, I'm going to start using completing the square, but I'm going to start with the standard form. So you write standard form. What is standard form? ax squared plus bx plus c equals y. And then you're going to write on the side, step 1, standard form. What else do I need to do for standard form? I need to make sure that y is what? 0. And then you write your next step right there. Then you go, step 2, divide by the leading coefficient. Do I know how to do that? Yes, I think so. So you divide by a. And I know some of you are going to be peeking to your notes, but try not to look as much. Only look when you get stuck. Does that make sense? Then you're going to go, step 3, eliminate the constant. Okay, here I remember we subtract c over a, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And then all of a sudden, add b over 2 squared. And this is where it starts getting funner, right? So that's when you start doing this process, and some of you are actually going to go to your notes and see, okay, I think I get this. I know how I got from here to here, okay? I see how I got this, and I see how I got this. Okay, I got this. But you looked at your notes. That's fine. Then see if you can simplify the fractions on this side, and then just write it as 1 right there. And then you go to the next step, factor. Without looking at your notes, see, okay, square root of the first, square root of the last, plus squared, bring that down, and then check your notes. Oh, yeah, I got it. Last step, square root and solve for x. Okay. And you go, let's see. Oh, factor, my bad, factor. So then you factored square root of this, square root of that, and then we're left with x plus b over 2a equals 2 plus minus. And then you remember, you guys ready? And then you remember that square root of 4 is 2, square root of a squared is a, and you're like, oh, here I can't square root this because of the negative, so I just put plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. And then solve for x, minus b over 2a minus b over 2a. I get 2 fractions. and then I just combine them, and that's how I get my quadratic formula. That's one time. You're going to flip your paper over to the blank side. You're going to do it again from memory. And then when you get stuck, you look at your notes. The one thing I do not want you to do is just copy exactly what you wrote on a separate sheet of paper 4 times, because that does nothing to your noodle. You understand? So the second time you're going through the process again, and once again you look at your notes where you get stuck. By the third time, you're like, we're going to do it 3 times. No, you're going to do it 4 times at least. I only left it 4 times, but if you think you needed more so it can be in here automatic, then do more. By the third time, you should be able to get all the way through here and maybe get stuck here. But you should be able to get through all the process up to right here. Or maybe you should be able to get all the way maybe up to right here. And here's where it starts, some of you start getting confused or whatever the case. But by the 4th time, you should be able to do the entire process completely without looking at your notes. Everybody with me? You're like, you mean we're going to come back tomorrow with 4 of these in the 2 sheets of paper? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes? And then what else? 2 equations, x squared minus 4x equals 12, and negative 3x squared minus 18x plus 48 equals y. Each one of those solves how many ways? 4 different ways. No, we derived the quadratic formula. Now, let me see if I have one already worked out in here with 4. No, I don't have it here. But we know the four forms, right? The first one is graphing using what? A table, input output table, right? The second form is using factoring using Power Rangers, right? The third one, completing the square, which is we did on the warm-up. And the 4th one is the one that we introduced yesterday with a quadratic formula, right? We good? Yeah? All right. There is tutoring today. If I don't see you, enjoy your home play. See you guys tamales. Bye.